Almost immediately after the autumn equinox, the word goes out and people begin to gather. Ships first, at ports all along the Bay of Catazar, from Siroc and Shantarim in the west, to Crown's Quay and Viston in the east. Then, over the next few weeks, soldiers and warriors flood into the coastal towns ready to take the fight to the Grendel. From across the entire empire they come, soldiers and ships alike. Every imperial nation is represented, from the Brass Coast to Verushka, from Urizen to Wintermark. Only in Sarvos is it business as usual. With the armada anchored within sight of the docks, it is deemed wiser not to draw too much attention to the gathering storm. The Senate has paid the ransom demanded by the Sulk Lords, and their vast fleet of warships simply idle in the waters off the jewelled city. Yet many of the ships leaving Sarvos hug the coast, joining the fleets being gathered at other ports along the Bay of Catazar. It takes time, of course, to gather a great fleet. Just shy of 250 fleet captains answered the call to take the fight to the Grendel. Their ships needed to ensure berths for the thousands of soldiers flooding south to join the bold endeavour. The civil service does what it can, but even their traditionally efficient bureaucracy is tasked near to the limit. Arranging for over 300 individual warbands to find ships capable of transporting them to the far side of the Bay of Catazar is a Herculean task, but with the enthusiastic aid of port officials across the Southern Empire, it is managed in little over a month. One consideration that makes the entire process more difficult is the sheer amount of magic that has been brought to bear. Hundreds of soldiers enchanted with spring magic that not only grants them increased vigour and savage strength, but also heightens their aggression. Remaining patient in the face of weeks-long delays as the full force of the Armada gathers is more than some soldiers can take. Violence erupts more than once between soldiers filled with unaccustomed levels of potent sorcery, keeping the peace between gangs of armed and armoured soldiers, their bloodlust heightened by the touch of spring, is a challenge that tasks the resources of militia, magistrates, and the local peacekeeping forces. Not that the soldiers are the only problem. Many of the ship's crews themselves are girded with enchantments of spring that exacerbate their own frustration at having to wait for warriors to be ready before they can unleash their fury against the Grendel. The situation is made even more tense where Imperial orcs have received these boons. The magic kindles each orc's natural instincts to seek out battle and conflict, in some cases to dangerous levels. Some of the coastal towns become nervous powder kegs, waiting for a single flame in the wrong place to cause them to explode, well before they reach Grendel territory. In contrast, those ships graced with the power of night magic become eerie oases of calm. Yet even this magic is not without drawbacks. The presence of so many warbands enshrouded in mist and shadow inadvertently helps to deliver one of the dampest, most dismal autumns in recent imperial history. Banks of thick fog hang over the docks of the Southern Empire, and in some places bring unsettling dreams to haunt the citizens' sleep. Not all the soldiers who come to aid the attack on Dubhtraig are mortal. Alongside the humans and orcs, stranger figures are spotted. From Navarre, Highguard, Verushka and Urizen come preternatural warriors of living shadow. Some are armed with wicked polearms of black wood and unfamiliar metal, wearing dark heavy robes embroidered with richly coloured mystic symbols over scaled armour. Some are wrapped in pale yellow furs and glide soundlessly through the twilight, with massive double-handed golden axes over their shoulders. Despite their exotic nature, they are adept at fading into the background, and there are several humorous incidents where inebriated sailors discover to their surprise that they are being observed with interest by a dozen heavily armed, coal-skinned warriors. At the other end of the scale come half a dozen coteries of living crystal soldiers, raised by their magician captains from Manasites in Urizen and the League. Beautiful, multifaceted creatures wielding long spears, and clad in gemstone armour that closely echoes the style of the nation where they were created. They remain aloof from the hustle and bustle of the docks. Indeed, those who interact with them find that they are nonplussed by the excitement, confused by the barely ordered chaos that surrounds them. They're polite enough, but to the surprise of many, seem a little out of their depth, hungry for a level of discipline that simply does not exist in the scrabble to prepare for the raid against the Grendel. Perhaps the strangest magical warriors are found on certain highborn ships flying the black and maroon torch banners of Jashin's legacy. At the prow of each ship stands a great beast. Bears, rams, and bulls of red stone wreathed in an ever-burning aura of flame. Each night they serve as silent, living beacons like great mobile lighthouses on the docks of sanctuary sands. Many sailors are deeply concerned about their presence. Barrels of additional sand and water are loaded onto the vessels they travel on, but this does not prevent several small fires breaking out on the Necropolis quayside in their vicinity. Truly, we live in an age of wonders. Finally, a little over 6 weeks after the autumn equinox, the word goes out. It sweeps from one end of the bay to the other, and in the course of 5 days and nights, carried by Navarre runners, by feathered messengers, by pulsing beacons, it is time to set sail. The target of the raid will be the great Grendel city of Dubhtraig itself, throne of the Salt Lord Suriad.